Welcome to the 7 Under Club. Iran will pay a price for attacking Israel. That's the word from the head of the IDF. The questions are when, where, and how.
Well, one of Israel's key concerns is keeping together the coalition that includes the United States and European nations, along with Saudi Arabia and Jordan. CBN Middle East correspondent Julie Stahl has more.
Israel says there's no doubt it will respond to the unprecedented drone and missile attack by Iran.
Iran will face the consequences for its actions. We will choose our response accordingly.
The question is how and when. Reserve Brigadier-General Amir Avivi tells CBN News they presented plans for striking back even before the attack.
These plans really can be from, cyber attacks to destroying nuclear plants to completely wiping out the oil production of Iran, sinking their navy. There are so many possibilities.
Still, the White House continues to press Israel not to take retaliation too far.
We don't want to see a war with Iran. We don't want to see a broader regional conflict. We will do what we have to do to defend Israel.
We're committed to a ceasefire that will bring the hostages home and preventing conflict from spreading beyond what it already has.
Avivi says although Israel can hit Iran in many ways, there's something bigger at stake.
One of the considerations is that Israel, of course, would rather see a buildup of a coalition.
Israel's successful defense is due to a coalition that included Arab nations like Jordan and Saudi Arabia. Jordanian planes took part in shooting down the massive waves of drones headed for Israel. The Jerusalem Post reports Saudi Arabia acknowledged its part in the coalition. It's also blaming Iran for instigating the October 7th attack by Hamas to thwart normalization of relations between Israel and Saudi Arabia. The fragile coalition is part of a U.S.-led effort to build a Middle East alliance that recognizes the danger that Shia Iran poses to Sunni Muslim nations and Israel. In an article in the Wall Street Journal, one U.S. official said the Abraham Accords made a significant difference by allowing the countries to work together openly.
Israel's defense was strengthened by a coalition of countries led by the United States and working together.
Avivi says the coalition, which also included Britain and France, understood they could be next.
The U.S. see ballistic missiles flying more than 1,000 kilometers in 10 minutes towards Israel. They understand they're next. These ballistic missiles can reach Europe. They will reach also the U.S. And in a year or two, they can be nuclear. So we need to deal decisively with this threat from Iran and really build a coalition that will be willing to pose a military threat and deal with these challenges.
While the U.S. says it won't take part in a strike on Iran, it's committed to defending Israel. CBN White House correspondent Abigail Robertson reports that Biden is pushing Congress to swiftly pass more foreign aid.
The White House called Iran's attack, which caused virtually no damage, a spectacular and embarrassing failure, although it also made clear Iran's intent to cause destruction in Israel. The administration is urging the House to pass the bipartisan national security supplemental that already cleared the Senate so that Israel and Ukraine can continue to defend themselves.
Meanwhile, protesters blocked roads and bridges in multiple cities across the U.S., protesting Biden's support for Israel. Julie Stahl, CBN News, Jerusalem.
Well, before Israel responds to this Iranian attack, I would encourage them to take care of business in Gaza first. You need to secure that southern border. Hamas has pledged to repeat October 7 again and again and again. And so in response to that pledge, they shouldn't exist anymore. They shouldn't be the government of Gaza anymore. And it's the same for Iran. It's not the Iranian people, it's the Islamic Republic. That is what is fueling all of this. And they keep, standing up Israel as this huge enemy. And I think it's some kind of effort to stay in power. For the past 2 years, they've been lynching their own people. If you protest against the Iranian government and against their policies, they are going to hang you in the public square. if you're a woman and you don't wear your headscarf properly, they're going to beat you to death. You look at these things, and where in the world do you find anybody that says, I want to support their struggle against Israel? But we're seeing it. I mean, these protests in our own streets, you've got to be kidding me. You're going to stand with that. You're going to stand with terrorism. You're going to stand with, let's attack innocent civilians and kill them mercilessly. Why in the world would you ever stand with that kind of action? But we're seeing it, and it's this whole ideology that Israel has to be wiped off the map. We stand with Israel. Israel has a right to exist, and that's been established under international law. The rest of the region is willing to accept that. I think the Iranian people are willing to accept that and live in peace with Israel. But it's the Islamic Republic, it's this radicalization that has happened, and that is our enemy, and that's what we need to fight. In other news, foreign aid to Israel and Ukraine has been stuck in Congress for months. Well, today, House Speaker Mike Johnson is expected to try to untangle the mess. John Jessup has more on that story from our CBN News Bureau in Washington. John?
That's right, Gordon. The Senate in February passed a bill combining aid to Israel, Ukraine, and Taiwan that was dead on arrival in the House. Johnson's plan will break up the funding into individual bills, with support for Israel getting the first vote possibly as soon as this week. The House refused to take up the Senate measure, arguing that the United States should deal with protecting its southern border first. But some Republican members strongly oppose more aid to Ukraine, even vowing to oust Johnson if he agrees to more funding. Speaking on CBS Face the Nation Sunday, GOP chairman of the House Foreign Affairs Committee, Mike McCall, said that without Western support, Ukraine risks losing the war to Russia.
I talked to the ambassador, our ambassador to Ukraine as well. She said the situation is dire. You know, Kharkiv could implode any day now. That's 2 million people. And the power grid is under threat right now. If the power grid goes out in Ukraine altogether, we don't have time on our side here, Margaret. We have to get this done. I would implore, what I need to educate my colleagues, they're all tied together.
Yes.
I mean, Iran is selling this stuff to Russia. Guess who's buying Iran's energy? China.
Speaker Johnson says the text of the bills could be released as soon as today.